Welcome back to News with Noita. July is here, and it looks like most of the gaming industry has quietly gone on vacation. Not completely, of course. We still have cozy vampires, anime swords, MMO trauma, dark fantasy suffering, and a few bigger titles wandering through the release calendar like lost travelers in the desert, desperately looking for the player's oasis. The problem is, those players may already be on a sunny beach, holding a cold drink in one hand and a console in the other. So, is July empty? Not exactly. It's more like one of those months where the games are hiding under beach umbrellas, hoping someone notices them before August kicks the door open. First, let's start cozy. Moonlight Peaks is a supernatural life sim where you play as a vampire in a magical town, grow mystical crops, brew potions, learn spells, and socialize with werewolves, witches, and mermaids. Basically Stardew Valley, but your neighbors may casually howl at the moon or ask if your blood type is artisanal. It is cute, cozy, and has a nice sense of humor, but for my taste, it felt a little slow, not only in progression, but also in movement speed and screen transitions. Everything moves with the energy of a vampire who just woke up after a 300-year nap and still needs coffee. But maybe that's just me. Slow-paced cozy games are definitely their own specific genre. Some players want speed, loot, chaos, and a boss health bar screaming at them. Others want to water mushrooms, flirt with supernatural townsfolk, and slowly become the most emotionally stable vampire farmer in the district. So if you enjoy cozy games with humor and don't mind the slower rhythm, Moonlight Peaks may be worth watching. Cygames describes it as a new expansion/major evolution of Relink, and it is also tied to the game's arrival on Switch too. The original Granblue Fantasy Relink on PS5 was actually nice. It was a real breath of fresh air for anime action RPG fans. Flashy combat, beautiful characters, big attacks, co-op battles, sky islands, and flashy effects. But it also had one big problem. It was short. The main story ended quite fast, and after that, the game mostly left players with optional side quests and grinding for better builds. Which is not necessarily bad, because build crafting can be fun, but after such a strong start, I personally wanted more actual adventure. So the big expectation for Endless Ragnarok is not only that it improves the progression of the original 2024 release, but also that it adds roughly 20 to 30 hours of new gameplay. And that changes the conversation. If you played Relink before and felt that the game ended right when it was finally getting warm, this expansion may be the reason to return. And if you skipped it before because it looked too short or too limited, now it may actually be worth your attention. Granblue Fantasy Relink disappeared from the spotlight for a while, but now it is back with Endless Ragnarok, because apparently regular Ragnarok was too short. Hey, psst, yeah, you! Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.
Come, the stars await, and we mustn't keep them.
Now, this one is dangerous for me emotionally. Echoes of Aincrad is the new Sword Art Online action JRPG. Bandai Namco lists it as a single-player action JRPG with the very SAO phrase, "Your story begins in a world where every battle could be your last." And I have history with Sword Art Online games. Many times I tried to play different SAO titles. Many times I failed. Not because I hate the idea. Actually, the idea is great. A virtual MMO world, character progression, party building, floors, raids, danger, drama. It should be exactly my trap. But somehow, previous games often gave you the freedom to create a character, and then your custom character still felt like Kirito wearing a fake mustache. They speak like Kirito, they act like Kirito, everyone treats them like Kirito. At some point, I was looking at my character creator screen thinking, why am I customizing another Kirito clone? And then the same cast keeps running from one game into another, acting like they all have selective amnesia. Every new game feels like, welcome to another deadly virtual world. And everyone says, oh no, not again. My brother in Aincrad, this is your 5th not again. But Echoes of Aincrad looks a bit different. The presentation seems closer to the original Aincrad fantasy. The tower, the danger, the MMO atmosphere, the promise that this time maybe your story actually feels like your story. Recent impressions from Games Radar said the demo strongly captures the anime's look and atmosphere, though they also criticized parts of the gameplay and world design, so I'd keep expectations curious rather than fully hyped. So I'm not sold yet, but I am watching, with one eye open and a Kirito detector in my pocket.
Tougher than it looks.
And now, Nintendo brings Ink to the Switch 2. It is the first Splatoon spin-off, set on the mysterious Spirulite Islands, where you play as a mechanic traveling with Deep Cut, using gadgets and ink weapons against salmonids. This one is probably the biggest Nintendo headline for July. Splatoon already has its own very specific flavor. Part shooter, part fashion show, part seafood civil war, part why is this lore darker than it looks? And now, instead of a standard multiplayer sequel, we're getting a spin-off adventure. That's interesting, because Splatoon has always had fun single-player ideas, but they often feel like side dishes. Raiders looks like Nintendo may be giving that side of Splatoon more room to breathe. Also, playing as a mechanic is a neat angle. Finally, someone in this universe looked at all the ink guns, flying gadgets, music idols, giant fish monsters, and said, someone has to fix this nonsense. And finally, because July was becoming too cozy and colorful, here comes The Relic, First Guardian. This is a dark fantasy action RPG with Souls-like elements. I'm not personally the biggest fan of Souls-like games. I'm not that kind of person who likes to suffer in story mode. I usually play games for story, atmosphere, characters, exploration, and emotional damage from the plot. Not necessarily emotional damage from the same boss killing me 27 times because I rolled 3 frames too early. But even for me, The Relic First Guardian looks interesting enough to include in this episode. What makes The Relic First Guardian interesting is its strong dark fantasy atmosphere, built around a ruined world filled with ancient power, mystery, massive creatures, in the sense that a forgotten catastrophe shaped everything long before the player arrived. It also stands out through its mythology and folklore-inspired design, giving its monsters, locations, and visual style a more distinctive identity than many generic dark fantasy games. Combined with stylish action RPG gameplay in a relatively quiet release window in July, it has a good chance to attract attention from both Souls-like fans and players who are simply looking for an intriguing world to explore. So no, I'm not suddenly converting into a Souls-like monk. But The Relic First Guardian looks like one of those games that may be worth watching. And who knows? Maybe this one has enough world, atmosphere, and combat style to attract players outside the usual Souls-like cave. Or maybe I'll try it, die to the tutorial enemy, and respectfully return to cozy vampires. Not every game needs a full spotlight, but July still has a few curious little creatures hiding in the grass. Some are cozy, some are chaotic, and at least one of them looks like it may destroy friendships faster than online ranked mode. Go-Go Town brings a cozy town-building sim where you become a mayor, build shops, attract tourists, manage the town, and probably discover that local government is just a cute-looking survival game. Wreck Runners. This one is a co-op extraction looter where players run into dangerous zones, grab loot, survive the chaos, and then blame friends for tactical decisions that definitely looked smarter 5 seconds earlier. Forever Skies comes to Xbox Series on July 27th, offering a survival game set above a ruined Earth where your airship becomes your home, your shelter, and probably your floating emotional support vehicle. And D-topia. A smaller sci-fi adventure about a controlled utopian city, mysterious systems, and the classic question of whether a perfect society is actually perfect, or just very good at hiding the cracks. And that's it. Not the loudest month, more like a quiet beach episode where half of the industry is on vacation and the other half is hiding under a palm tree. But even in a slower month, there are still games worth watching. So tell me in the comments, what are you playing in July? Are you going cozy with vampires, returning to Granblue, risking another Sword Art Online adventure, or preparing your soul for The Relic? And as always, subscribe to stay tuned, stay curious, and be careful where you sink your salary. This was News with Noita. Till next time!